honor to be here. It's also an honor to follow the very intelligent Lobo Tigre and the independent speculator. I'm here to tell you a story about metallic minerals today. And as Gilbert said, we are a precious and base metal explorer developer with key assets in North America. This is a picture of our Plata Project in southwestern Colorado. And I would just make note that we had a very interesting and very exciting news release February 28th, which announced the results of our 2022 drilling on our Plata Project, which resulted in 816 meters of continuous mineralization that graded 0.41% copper equivalent recovered, and ended in very strong mineralization that included high precious metals, gold, silver, and platinum and palladium, and is one of the best holes in North America in the copper space in the last several years, and puts us in the context of some of the larger explorers, undeveloped deposits, and not only in North America, but in the Andes and the Chile and Argentina. So we're very excited about this result, and I want to emphasize to you that it really starts to set us apart from other junior mining companies in the same space. So let me go through and talk a little bit more about the story. Before I do, I'll just mention that I will be making forward-looking statements and that you should be doing your own research, as there is a fair bit of risk involved in, as Lobo said, in terms of speculation or investment in junior mining mineral exploration companies. The next thing I want to mention to you is that the Metallic Minerals Corporation is part of the Metallic Group of companies. The Metallic Group is a collaboration of leading independently traded exploration companies with a similar strategy and approach to business. That strategy is that we work to acquire assets that we see as valuable in low price cycle for the metals, and then build resources from the systematic exploration of those projects, and then return them to the major miners down the road after we extracted a similar amount or a large amount of investment return from our efforts. Two other companies involved in the Metallic Group are the Stillwater Critical Minerals, who is a exploration resource stage company with an asset in Montana that is focused on critical and battery metals, nickel, copper, cobalt, and PGE in the Stillwater West District of Montana. The third company within the Metallic Group is Granite Creek Copper, which is a PEA or preliminary economic analysis stage company with a key copper asset in the central part of the Yukon territories next door to the operating Minto mine facility, where they have a very large high-grade resource at their Carmax Copper project. Each of these companies is led by a very experienced leadership team that's been credited with numerous discovery and advancement of major precious metal and base metal deposits over the years. They include myself and our CEO, Greg Johnson, and our experience with a company called Nova Gold, who developed both the Donlin Creek, Galore Creek, and Ambler Bornite deposits in the Pacific Northwest of North America, where we took those assets and returned significant value back to our shareholders through the advancement and acceleration of resource development. Back to metallic minerals, I'll mention, or have mentioned, that we have three key projects. Our three key projects are all in North America. Our first one is our Plata Project in southwestern Colorado, where I mentioned we just announced significant results as of February 28th. As of last April in 2022, we announced our inaugural resource for the project, which is nearly 1 billion pounds of copper that includes 15 million ounces of silver. Our second key asset is our Keno Silver project, which is located in the north central part of the Yukon territories in Canada. It's a high-grade silver lead zinc deposit next door to Hecla Mining, who just completed an acquisition of Alexco Resources. Hecla is the third largest primary silver producer in the world, and we are the second largest landholder next to Hecla. Hecla has announced that they are trying to restart their underground mining operations for silver, lead, and zinc in the district by the third quarter of 2023. And we're working diligently to identify resources on our project and have made recent discoveries that we think are significant in the advancement of our project in the Keno Silver District. Our third asset also was newly talked about in January of 2023. We signed an agreement with a TV star, essentially from the hit show in North America called Gold Rush, a fellow by the name of Parker Schnabel and Little Flake Mining. Parker produced 20 million ounces of gold on his project last year, and we have signed a royalty agreement for Parker to move his operation to our ground, where he expects to produce 5,000 to 10,000 ounces of gold, and we will retain a 10 to 15% royalty on that production, not only in 2023, but going forward. It's within the historic Klondike alluvial district, where over 20 million ounces of gold was produced historically following the Klondike gold rush of 1898. I want to focus specifically on our Plata Project, the one that we're most excited about in the short term because of those new results. It's generated a lot of interest and activity in the company from not only majors, but investment community as well. And I see our share price now as a real entry point to take a ride before recognition of what it is that we have discovered and worked on here is more broadly recognized across the industry. So our project is located in southwestern Colorado at the southern end of the Colorado mineral belt. And as you can see, there are numerous major mining companies in Colorado doing significant amounts of work. Newmont is mining on the Cripple Creek mine, where they're working on a 30 million ounce resource of gold. Freeport-McMoRan, one of the largest copper mining companies in the world, is working on moly deposits at both the Climax and Henderson operations in Colorado as well. And by virtue of location in the Western United States, we're not far from Bingham Canyon and the large Arizona copper belt, which had over 24 billion pounds of copper produced historically. Well situated within the Western US, where the United States government has basically come out in support of the concept of identifying, recognizing critical minerals and sourcing them directly for the future. And there are very few development stage copper projects in the US, and this one is going to be one of those that takes on a higher profile as we move forward following this announcement of our recent discovery. I'll just mention a little bit about that discovery. This is a cross-section through the deposit. Mineralization in the district was discovered in the late 1700s by Spanish explorers. Small mines for gold, silver, and telluride were developed on narrow veins in the district between 1850s and 1940s. In the 1950s, the major mining companies came into the district, discovered there was a copper ore body at the center of the district, and began to develop it or to drill it and explore, and did so in a very fractured land package that had multiple owners in the district in competition. Most of the work that they did, they drilled 50 holes and roughly 15,000 meters of drilling in 20 years. And as the copper market sort of bottomed out, their interest waned in the project and other projects prioritized higher. And it was acquired from Freeport in 2002, very astutely, and then vended to us in 2019, where we have been systematically exploring on the deposit. We've been able to not only do confirmatory work to announce the new resource, the inaugural resource, early in 2022, but also to identify up to 16 additional targets that have not been drilled. There's been no mineral exploration work in the district on this deposit for over 50 years. So it is a forgotten district. We've been able to come in, do this systematic exploration. Our drill program in 2022 consisted of 2 holes where we tested laterally to extend resource. And that second hole, 2204, is the hole that really sets us apart in the stratosphere with the rest of the copper market. Over 500 meters of 0.5% copper equivalent, and the last 3 meters, last 9 meters was 3.5% copper. The last 5 meters was over 5% copper equivalent, and that interval had multiple gram per ton intervals of platinum, palladium, and gold. So a very exciting result, and it is essentially open in all directions for expansion, as you can see here in the cross section. Another view of that same hit is this hit right here, 2204. Again, it's projected to surface, so it's underneath the 2 holes that you see there, ACO3 and C-01. And the other key thing to note here is that all of those holes have ended in mineralization. We see this as a potential block cave operation being mined from underground. The grades are very amenable to that. And we see the ability to really grow very quickly the resources on the project with further exploration, which we plan for 2023. Here is the resource number, 115 million tons at 0.35% copper, nearly 900 million pounds of copper, and including 4 grams of silver at 15 million ounces for a combined equivalent grade of 0.39% and nearly 1 billion pounds of copper. Our expectation is to do a resource update available for mid-summer 2023. Just quickly on our Keno Silver project in the Yukon territories. I mentioned earlier, it's in the north central part of the Yukon. We are in the same district as our neighbor, Hecla Mining Company. This is a picture of their mill. They are actively exploring and developing deposits with the idea of restarting operations late in 2023. And we represent potential mill feed or additional resources for Hecla, but also with an idea of potential other companies coming into the district, making an acquisition, and seeing the work that we've done has been very valuable. This is a map that shows the district. It's 35 kilometers across. Initial discovery was made here at the Silver King mine. Our work in the past few years has been focused on these orange properties that are owned by Metallic Minerals, and we're working towards developing resources on the 5 circled areas that you see here, and made a discovery in 2022 on our Fox zone, which represents a different style of mining, which could be very valuable. All of the historic traditional mining done in the district was done from underground mining methods, which is very expensive. At Fox, we've discovered mineralization that we announced in early 2023 of up to 177 meters wide in a very shallow dipping configuration that is more amenable to open pit mining and cheaper development costs, which we think is going to be very exciting to anyone that's interested in mining silver in the district. Lastly, I'll just talk about our our Klondike Gold District again, where we have just signed this royalty agreement where we expect to have between 5,000 and 10,000 ounces of production and metallic minerals receiving a 10 to 15% royalty on that. That income will act to pay for the company's expenses in the coming years and help supplant exploration activities or exploration costs as well. And this is the part that is within that agreement is shown in purple. And we have permits on the red square, but we have ownership of all the other claims that are shown in green and the ability to add additional operators to create more revenue from royalty production. Coming up, we have a La Plata resource expansion that we'll be announcing sometime midsummer 23. We have additional high-grade results from our Keno Silver drilling program in 2022 that we'll be announcing in the next several months. And we look to have an inaugural resource calculation for our Keno Silver project sometime before the end of 2023 as our key catalyst moving forward. Our share price right now, as of today, is just over 30 cents. We have 150 million shares issued and outstanding. We have no debt. We have about $2.5 million in cash. We have a strong investor base. Management and associates owns 19% of the company. Eric Sprott is our single largest investor, who has 14% of the company. We have a number of institutions that are involved in metallic minerals, and we've recently received analyst coverage from Colar Capital. I think that this company is very unique in the junior mineral exploration space in that we have 3 key assets. Most junior mining companies have 1. We have 3 key assets, and they're all in world-class districts with the ability to become world-class operations. Plus, we have income, and that again is another value add that sets us apart from the rest of the industry. So we see the ability to grow our share price by growing our resource base and continuing to de-risk these operations and grow value for our shareholders. And with that, I know I'm running late on time, so I'll just stop at this point and say thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Scott. So just a couple of questions from the audience. First one from Win. So what actions do you need to take to be able to potentially bought out by majors? I guess what needs to happen before majors to come and buy you out?
Well, I think I can say that based on the drill results at our La Plata project this year and our participation in the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada meeting, which we call PDAC, in Toronto, we were able to show some core from the new discovery, and there was significant interest from the majors already. We believe that we're able to extract more value from our shareholders by advancing the projects in the short term ourselves, so that until we see real value come back from the work that we've done, and hopefully we get some market help to do that, we won't be necessarily in a position to strike an earn-in agreement with a major at this time. But we're at the very cusp of that. We just feel we need more value for our shareholders before we sign any kind of an agreement.
Sure. And another question from Grace and O, who was asking the same thing. Do you need to raise capital in the near term? Because you got a couple $1 million in the bank, and so do you need to do that? Or
we'll likely need to raise capital to do a robust drill program to advance the projects at the pace that we hope to. And that's both projects. We're going to try and run, I think there's more value in the La Plata project and more value in our return to our efforts at drilling at La Plata than there is, say, at Keno, but they're both very valuable projects, and we're going to try and run them simultaneously. And to do that, we'll need $5 to $8 million this year and probably for each year in succession here. So we will likely be needing to go to the market very soon.
So final question from Francine here. It's asking, how can Metalla Minerals ensure its explorations to conducted in responsible and sustainable manner? So let's talk about ESG practice, I think.
Well, there's always risk in your ability to actually develop a project, and if you don't take care of the ESG early and often and build relationships and develop relationships, you're going to limit your opportunities down the road. We have a track record, both myself and our president, Greg Johnson, in working not only with First Nations in Canada and Alaska in our project development with NovaGold, and we understand how this process should go. So we work very diligently to make and establish and develop and grow new relationships with interested parties and affected parties based on our activities. And I think we're in a good position to do that. So.
Thank you, Scott, for answering all the questions. I will let you go. And again, thank you for being here with us to share your story.
Thank you very much, Gilbert.